Isn't this a bit of irony? Facebook, who has been on this campaign censoring everybody everywhere, injecting itself into the politics of not only the US, but countries all around the world. And actually, they have been doing this for a very long time. They worked hand in hand openly with the US State Department to help affect the US engineered Arab Spring in 2011. And so this is from Reuters, actually, right here. Facebook faces a reckoning in Myanmar after being blocked by military. And just these key points alone, there's so many problems with these key points before you even get into the article. The Myanmar military's shutdown of Facebook access following the ouster of the democratically elected Aung San Suu Kyi caps years of tension. Aung San Suu Kyi wasn't democratically elected. Number one, she was not even eligible for office because she had a British husband and she has two British children. Just like anywhere else in the world, if you have these sort of compromising ties with foreigners, you're not allowed to hold senior positions in the government. Also, was the election that her political party won, was that a process of self-determination within Myanmar, or was that a product of foreign interference? And I've pointed out many times that the US government, through the National Endowment for Democracy, created the gigantic network that supports her political party, and helped get her into power in the first place. So there was nothing democratic about it at all. She represents a Western-backed client regime occupying power in Myanmar, and now the military has removed it. The junta on Wednesday banned Facebook until at least Sunday after the regime's opponents began using it to organize. And again, this is what Facebook exists to do. It exists to control information and to help US-backed opposition groups organize against their own governments, against their own countries. A company spokeswoman on Thursday urged Myanmar authorities to restore access to Facebook and WhatsApp to the country's 54 million residents. Who cares what Facebook wants? It's a foreign company. It's operating in Myanmar. Myanmar has the final say on whether Facebook operates or not. And they cannot really use the argument of freedom in any sense, because freedom is something that doesn't even exist on Facebook's social media network. Facebook will have to decide how to play the delicate balance of protecting the democratic politicians and activists versus cooperating with the new regime to get services restored. An especially acute example of the political dilemmas the company faces worldwide. This is a dilemma Facebook chooses to face. It could just offer its service as a way for people to communicate with one another, but they can't do that. They long ago decided that it was going to be weaponized to carry out information warfare against targeted nations, to work with the US State Department, to work with US special interests all around the globe to meddle in other countries' internal political affairs. So that is a dilemma that Facebook has created for itself. I have said time and time again how important it is for every nation on earth to start taking their information space seriously, to defend it, to build up their own alternatives to services like Facebook, Twitter, Google, YouTube. If you do that, you are the one who decides how it is used and by whom. You don't have a foreign company like Facebook making those decisions for you, especially when those decisions are being driven by a political agenda that doesn't necessarily meet your country's best interests. Actually, most of the time it doesn't. And this is the same as having another country build roads in your country and then also manage them and also collect all the benefit to having built them. You wouldn't do that. You might pay a country to help build the roads, but then ultimately you would be the one who determines how they're used and by whom. This same mindset needs to be adopted for IT infrastructure. So Myanmar's learning the hard way of what happens when you don't have your own alternatives. I hope other countries in Southeast Asia are taking notes and starting to think seriously about developing their own alternatives to Facebook, Twitter, Google, even YouTube before it's too late, because when these companies decide to start acting in a politically motivated manner, they can make entire sides of any conflict just simply disappear out of a country's own information space. So it's a real serious problem, and people should start thinking about how to solve it instead of letting it get to this point where it's this bad. If you thought the video was useful, please like and share it. Think about subscribing to my channel. It helps the channel grow and it's totally free to do. Please check the video description for the link to this article, as well as to ways you can help support my work, like by becoming a Patreon member. And as always, thank you very much for watching.